Talisman Adventures TTRPG is proving to be a pretty great system. If you haven't watched the live playthrough of the show, I did it last week, then I suggest you check it out. And if you haven't watched the first video in this series, go and look at that, because that tells you all kind of the basic kind of rules. But today we're looking at character creation, and how does it stack up? Is it fun? Is it intuitive? Is it rewarding? Or is it a nightmare of checking, referencing, and limitations? Hello and welcome to the next video in our Talisman Adventures TTRPG series by Pegasus Spiele. Now, my name is Guy, and today we're going to be doing a deep dive on character creation within the game. And I have to say, this is a very big component. It's a very important component because, I mean, as much as the rules are useful, without the players being able to create a character that they really want to play, they're not really going to like the game, regardless of what the rules are, right? So, where do we start? Well, we start with ancestries. Now, who was your ancestor? What were your ancestors is the more important question. This is a PC shift away from the term race, so dwarves, elves, sprites, trolls, ghouls, all those kind of wonderful things. Anyway, your ancestry. Now, the dwarves are first up, first letter, D, so off they go, and they are traditional dwarves. You've got names like Ironguard and Durgam and so on. And there's a brief write-up on the ancestors' sort of culture. I like that it's brief because it means I don't have to read 1,000 pages of lore to decide if I want to play the species or not. So I really like that. They also included a perspective entry, which is nice for people who like to challenge their own role-playing, as it gives perspectives and suggestions on how the dwarves handle other races, other ancestors, as the book calls them, so elves and sprites. Again, it's short, it's sweet, I like it. Then we get modifiers. Now, as the system is based on 2 core attributes and 6 aspects, I should say, that really forms the basis of your character. And then, of course, those are then modifiers which you apply to your dice rolls. So we expect the ancestors to then give us some additional points, right? Well, that's what I expected anyway. However, instead of saying that, they say, no. Instead of saying all dwarves get +1 strength and or craft or whatever it is, the book instead increases the maximum attribute can be. So normally an aspect is capped at 6. Dwarves can have a mettle or an insight of 7. This isn't helpful at the beginning of the game because characters that are created at level 1 effectively can't get as high as that. Anyway. So that's an interesting twist. Now, I also like the next section, which is titled Background. And what this does is it introduces us to a nuance level of the characters. There are 3 distinct archetypes. There's the Hillguard, the Cragborn, and the Townsmith. Now, each of these different types of dwarves gain different bits. They gain a certain ability. Again, this is quite nice because all of the other cultures, all the other ancestors, I should say, have 3 distinct cultures in one book. It's really cool. Finally, each ancestor line has access to special abilities unique to that particular ancestry, which then allows you to customize the character even more. You can play a dwarf, an elf, a ghoul, a human, a lay walker, a sprite, or a troll. Now, each have 3 distinct cultures and backgrounds, and I mean that's a pretty good mix of species, and already your character is fairly unique. So then we get to the class section. Now here you've got assassin, druid, minstrel, priest, prophet, scout, sorcerer, thief, warrior, and wizard. So let's unpack one of the less common classes. I mean, one of the ones that we haven't sort of seen before, and that's, I think, the prophet. So dealing with the future is always tricky, but the classes are well written in the same way. So I mean, they're all written in the same way. So this is just an example. So there's a write-up on what the class does, and the prophet kind of sees the bigger picture between good and evil and understands that fate, which is the mechanic in the game actually, is kind of fluid. So each class is then awarded a base attribute value, so prophets are set at strength 2, craft 4, and since craft is using for casting spells, it makes sense that this is the attribute that's higher than the strength attribute. Don't worry, you can change them later. The basic life points are assigned with a starting fixed value, modified by your character's aspects. Spellcasting classes gain the spell points pool, which allows them to then cast spells, whether it's mystic spells, nature spells, or arcane spells, which is great. And, remember that your character, they have a list of skills. When they have a skill, they add the aspect value of that skill to the die roll. If they don't have the skill, then it's just the straight up die roll, which makes it a little bit more tricky. So then you get a whole bunch of skills. That's really cool, specific for that class. And then the class has a set of core features, special abilities that you have to choose from, and they're exclusive. So it's like a tree. So the prophet gets to choose between Hour of Need and Mystic Spellcasting. And you choose one or the other, either unlocking the ability to help people with their skill checks or to be able to cast Mystic Magic from the Mystic Magic tree. Anyway, so then they can select What No Mortal May Speak or Shrouded Truths. And the one lets you see the future, but you're not allowed to tell anybody about it. The other one is you can see the future, but clouded with emotion, it is the future. So it's great. It's really, really, really cool. And again, it's giving you that difference, right? Another point is that all the classes have a how to play this class entry, which is really useful to get a feel of the class as well as what aspects will most likely be important to your character if you are following a traditional build. I do like that. I really do like that. Now, all classes have this as their basic structure, so all of that kind of stuff. And each offer up some very fun options. Now, next up on character creation is the alignment. Oh, no. Don't panic. It's not the 9 alignments that we all love to hate or hate to love, or I don't know. It's 3 of them. There's just 3 of them. Good, neutral, or evil. And the book summarizes it quite nicely. Good folk help others and care for the well-being of the community. Neutral folk do not care about material possessions and often want to help nature more than anything else. So they're kind of grey-ish. And then the evil folk are in it for themselves. They're only there for themselves. That's all they want. Get rich, get laid, get fun. I don't know. That's all they want to do. So what is interesting is that the book clearly states that you might have evil characters working alongside good characters and neutral characters without issue, because it's not as if it is an in-game mechanic. It is a metagame mechanic because it's a very interesting thing. You have magical items and certain spells that will work on the alignment specifically, but it's not like you have to go around killing everyone because you're evil. You're just self-centered. So that kind of means most of the characters in my games anyway would err on the side of evil. Anyway, you then get to assign some bonus points to your attributes and to your aspects, so you can make your character stronger in certain areas or more rounded, depending on however you like. It's very, very straightforward. And then you could calculate your derived stats, like movement speed, carrying capacity, and so on. Then you buy equipment. Now, equipment is purchased using gold, or as presented in the book, there are actually pre-made packs that you can buy for each class. And what's nice is that you also get some gold as well. So you get the kit, and then you can go and buy some more stuff depending on what you want. I like that because it means inexperienced players, obviously, they don't know what to buy, so here we go, off you go. Experienced players, here you go, off you go, and you can go get more stuff. Now, character advancement, super simple. The game runs from levels 1 through to 10. And you gain experience points, which you can then unlocks certain things, and that allows you to increase your attributes, your aspects. It gives you access to more secret and special abilities and things like that, which start to unlock from level 2. And then you get advanced special abilities from level 2 onwards. There's some universal ones you can choose from, or there are some class-specific ones. And I mean, they're really cool. So another example, another class, the Assassins, they get a thing like everything is a weapon, tricks up my sleeve, manhunter, and so on. So each class has at least 6 special abilities that they can slowly add to their character over time to make them a little bit more unique, plus those 5 generic universal ones. So that's a lot of things going on there. And then you have the follower system. And now these are kind of NPCs that don't really slow up the game because you're not rolling for them during combat. You're not doing all of that kind of stuff. They have a loyalty value. And what these NPCs do is when you use them in game for an effect, effectively, I mean, this is the meta of it, right? It costs loyalty. And when their loyalty reaches 0, they leave. But there is a mechanic, a role-playing mechanic, which I particularly like, where you can increase their loyalty and kind of get them to be more loyal back to you. So you can then send them off, go speak to this person and find out this information. Costs you 3 loyalty or 2 loyalty, depending on the particular follower. Fight with me in combat and give me a bonus to combat, or give me a bonus to speed. A horse, for example, is a follower and has a certain speed benefit. They can give you magical benefits, depending on what you're doing. So I think that's really, really, really fun. And in combat, they don't get involved unless you ask them to get involved, and then they just give you a bonus to rolling. They don't have to then roll themselves. They're not a standalone NPC. Talisman Adventures TTRPG, I must say, it's not a complex system that's going to require hours and hours of cross-math calculations to build the ultimate warrior. No, this is a game that isn't complex, but I don't believe that is in the spirit of the game anyway. The game was designed for fun, exciting adventures that spark the imagination with rules that I feel just don't get in the way. Now, a little ghoul told me that there is certainly a plan for additional ancestors and classes and special abilities coming out in future supplements. So, I mean, that just increases the scope of the game without adding too much complexity to it. Anyway, character creation is really, really cool, and I suggest you think very seriously about this game. I really, really cannot recommend it highly enough. Now, next week, I will be looking at how the book helps you as a game master to run a better game, and I promise you it actually does a pretty good job. And I have just received confirmation today that the makers of the game, Pegasus Spiele, they so enjoyed what we did for them in the last run-through of Talisman Adventures TTRPG that we're going to be doing an entire series. That's right. 12 episodes of 3 hours of glorious Talisman Adventures TTRPG will be brought to you on this channel by Pegasus Spiele, the makers of this game. They are absolutely fantastic folk, and they've said, right, let's do 12, let's see what people think. I had a blast. It's my usual crew of crazy people, plus an old friend of mine is returning to the table, which I cannot wait for. That will be coming out in the next few weeks. We've got to arrange a few things. The entire series is called Nevermore, and is based on something that another player inspired me to go and have a look at. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, if you want to find out more about Talisman Adventures TTRPG, or you want to find out more about Pegasus Spiele, because this is not their only game that they have in their stable, head on over to their website. Link is down below, and you can find all of this wonderful stuff. The hard copy is not yet available, but you can get the PDF on Drive-Thru RPG, Talisman Adventures. Can't miss it. And yeah, start exploring an alternative, a nice light system that it covers all the grounds. Let me tell you, it covers all the grounds. Anyway, next week, how to GM this game, and beyond, we'll go from there. Until then, however, I wish you and yours the very happiest of gaming.